we had some major announcements on the Airbnb front, and as you guys know, I wanted to bring the best of the best on here to educate y'all on what's happening with Airbnb updates. And there's, in my opinion, nobody better on the planet to talk about these updates than my partner in crime, Mr. Jasper Rivers. So, Jasper, why don't you let's just dive right into it, man. Why don't you give us an update? What is going on with Airbnb and these 100+ updates they did on the website?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this was a major update that they came out with on Monday. Brian Chesky actually went live, and you can rewatch the live announcement on the website airbnb.com/2021. So if you haven't watched it yet, I highly recommend watch the announcement by Brian Chesky. I think he did a great job kind of talking high level on what's happening in the travel industry and how Airbnb is adapting to the new trends by updating their platform with over 100 updates. So this is actually the biggest update that Airbnb has ever done on their platform, and there's some major changes. I think this is going to be a game changer. They again have shown that they are really the industry leader when it comes to short-term rental platforms. They have shown that they are super innovative. I can never pronounce that word.
You
but
got it.
But yeah, they've implemented some new features on there, especially on the guest side, that I think is going to make the Airbnb platform not only more attractive to users, and it's going to attract a lot more people to use Airbnb, but also I think the current users are going to find that they will find the listings that they're looking for, and they will book more. So I think it's a major game changer on the hosting side as well. They've simplified the sign up process a lot. That's gotten a little complicated over the years, so I'm sure they were losing a lot of people in the process of actually signing up their first listing. So yeah, there's 103 updates. I can go through them.
Let's go through every single update, Jasper, starting with number one. Let's do this.
All right. Well,
no, but so I know that you spent a lot of time going through this. So what are the top takeaways that you got from these updates?
All right, so let's start with the guest side, because I think that's where the most of the major changes were. Airbnb introduced a lot more flexibility on the guest side. The first and most important one that I want to cover is flexible dates. So, when you book an airline ticket, it often offers you the flexibility to say, hey, I want to travel on this date, but I could be traveling a day later or 2 days earlier. Or you could even say, I just want to travel in June, and I don't really care when. I just want to see what day is the best price. Right? I'm sure you've seen that before. Now that functionality is extremely useful for the users, right? Because it offers you a lot more flexibility and a lot more options. Airbnb is the first short-term rental platform, or I would even say hotel booking website that has now fully incorporated this functionality. So Booking.com already had some flexibility and some suggestions, but on Airbnb now you can choose that you want to travel for a certain weekend or a week or a month, and Airbnb is going to show you the most attractive options in that time frame. So that's
interesting.
The first major update. Major.
Interesting. Okay, so this is something I'm really curious though. Like when it comes to dynamic pricing now, right? It's like how to tie that in with dynamic pricing. So what's the concept here for them doing that? Why do you think they rolled that out? And are you excited about that? Do you think this is a good or a bad thing for when it comes to booking our properties?
No, I think it's a major net positive for the entire Airbnb community as a whole. Because the more attractive the Airbnb platform, the more guests, and so also the more customers for the hosts, right? So I think it's a major game changer for both sides. And on the hosting side, it does have some interesting consequences, especially when you combine it with the flexible matching that they've introduced as well. So let me explain flexible matching first, and then I'll I'll explain what the consequences are that I see. So flexible matching, basically what it does is it shows you listings that fall outside of your search parameters, but very close to it. So imagine you're searching on Airbnb, and in the picture that you're sharing, you're looking for a place with a pool and a hot tub. All right, and you're looking for certain dates, but there's a lot of other things that you're looking for. You're looking for Wi-Fi, like, you're looking for all these different things. And on the old platform, Airbnb would only show you the listings that would completely qualify, right? Would qualify according to all the search parameters. But oftentimes that will lead to just a few choices, especially in smaller markets. So what they're doing now is they're actually showing you the listings that are close to what you're looking for, and they indicate on the search page what's missing. Right? So for example, let's say you're looking for a hot tub. You might see some results where Airbnb says, hey, these listings are pretty much what you're looking for, except for the hot tub, but they're very attractively priced, so you might still be interested. Right, so that's going to give the guest a lot more options, and I think it's really going to increase the booking conversion. Because what happens is, if you look on Airbnb, and I mean, you used Airbnb, hundreds of times, I'm sure. Yep. So if you can't find what you're looking for, you might go to VRBO, you might go to Booking.com, or you might just look for a hotel. So I think by giving guests more options that are close to what they're looking for, I think the conversion rate is going to go up, and people are going to stay on Airbnb versus moving to a different platform.
Yeah.
Does that make sense so far?
Yeah. It's a better experience. It's a better experience. It's customized, customized to exactly what they're looking for. And by the way, guys, I see that a lot of people are jumping on right now. We're talking about the updates that Airbnb just released. So if you guys are new to this, again, just like this video and then drop us a comment. We want to really engage with you. There's 100+ updates here, and we're not going to be able to get through all of them. So depending on, what questions that you guys have, Jasper and I can go a bit deeper into that. So, okay. So that's interesting, man. So, what else is bringing you? Oh, actually, here, let me do a screen share. This is what you're speaking about when it comes to the flexible matching, right? So right here, missing pool and a hot tub.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Wow.
Right. So I think that's powerful.
It's huge.
Yeah. And I think the major takeaway from this, in my opinion, is I think listings are going to become more price sensitive. And what I mean by that is, if you have a calendar gap, for example, right, and you are pricing those days a lot lower than your normal rate, I think the likelihood that someone's actually going to find your listing is going to increase. Because before Airbnb had all this flexibility, if you would have like a calendar gap, then it's really hard for people to actually find it, because they have to put in those exact dates of that gap, right? Versus now, those gaps might show up under that flexible, under those flexible searches. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
So what I think is going to happen is, when you lower your price, I think it's going to increase the amount of eyeballs on your listing versus the old platform. And I think the same is true for increasing your price. I think when you increase your price, you are going to see a bigger drop in demand because, as guests have more flexibility, they're not sort of forced to book at that higher price.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Awesome.
100%.
Sweet. So I think that's one of the consequences. I think in general, it's going to lead, like I said, I think more people are going to start using Airbnb. I think the people that are already using Airbnb are going to book more. And then the third flexible option that I really love is called flexible destinations. So the reason that Airbnb has implemented all these different features now is, of course, that the traveler has become more flexible, right? People have more flexibility when it comes to the dates and the locations that they're traveling to.
Yeah.
So I think this is they're hitting the nail on the head with this new functionality. And the third flexibility that I want to discuss is the flexible destinations. What you can now do is you can, instead of saying what dates you want to travel, you can now say this. You can specify the type of property that you want to stay at or the experience that you want to have. Right. So, for example, you're looking at tree houses right now. So if you say, hey, I want to stay at a tree house in the next month, right? Where can I go? And it's automatically going to track your location. So it knows you're in San Diego. So it's going to show you all the tree houses that are within your region.
Wow.
Right. And these are all specific to the country. So, for example, in Spain, if you look at the flexible destinations, it's going to show you castles. Right. If you're in what is it, Antarctica, it's going to show you igloos, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if there are any, but
I'm sure there's one out there. That's interesting, man. And they're releasing that because guests nowadays are more flexible on where they go. So they're not putting in that I have to be in San Diego, but if they find a treehouse that's 50 minutes or 50 miles outside of San Diego, because of the experience, they will travel to go to that property.
Exactly.
That's freaking awesome. I
think that's awesome because it's very much in line with the trends, right? Yeah. Number one, people want experiences. People want things that are Instagrammable, especially the younger people. Yep. But also, I think what's also important to recognize is that as people are going more to drive to destinations, the destination in itself is not might not be a new experience, right? If you travel to Asia, then you're going to have an incredible experience no matter where you stay, because that's a different culture, it's a different continent. But if you're traveling near your house, I think you're more likely to look for an experience in type of the accommodation.
Right.
And I want to give one example because this was really funny, actually. So when I was in Barcelona last year, I did this exact thing. I was like, hey, we want to go somewhere near Barcelona. We can't leave the region because of COVID, the lockdowns. So me and some friends, we looked on Airbnb and we found a castle that was an hour and a half outside of Barcelona, right? Because we were like, hey, if we're going to stay in our own region, we want to experience something unique. We don't want to just stay at a cookie cutter apartment somewhere. So we found a castle, stayed there for a couple nights. And guess what? In Brian Chesky's announcement, he actually showed that very castle. He highlighted that castle that we stayed at as an example.
Oh, nice.
Which was really funny.
That's pretty awesome, man. You're ahead of the times here.
Yeah, so I think this is an incredible feature that people are going to use a lot. Obviously, that this is going to raise the demand for unique properties, right?
I mean, we already know that, like us, we're stepping in and building a business specifically around unique properties, right? So it's like this makes it easier to get those properties out there, and it makes the industry so much more fun. Here I'm posting up right now in the Facebook group for everyone who's watching, the website airbnb.com/2021. It's what we're looking at right here. It's got all the updates, which seems pretty crazy. And Sean says number 99 on the list will be something to watch. So I don't know if you want to go into that now or if you want to go into something else, but that might be interesting to go further into.
Yeah, let's check it out real quick. I'm curious. What is it? 99. New city portal tools. New tools to help city officials manage short-term rental policies and regulations. That's interesting. Yeah, for sure.
That's interesting. Okay, so what does that mean? New tools to help city officials manage short-term rental policies and regulations. So actually, that's all. I'm assuming, and Sean, if you know more info on this, please drop us some comments. I'm assuming that's going to give us more clarity on short-term rental laws within our markets, which is freaking awesome for us, right? To be able to, if we want to expand, to understand exactly what the laws are in those marketplaces, because as we know, that's one of the biggest challenges is understanding the local laws. But then also, I'm curious if that opens up more transparency from Airbnb to the cities of who is listing on their site in those marketplaces, which could also put a stranglehold on many markets.
Yeah, for sure. We'll have to ask our friend David Krause to look into that, the founder of
Yeah.
Rent Responsibly, and give us his insights.
Yeah.
But I think in general, I would say that cities cooperating with short-term rental platforms like Airbnb to reach an sort of an equilibrium and more transparency when it comes to regulations, I would say that's a good thing for the industry as a whole.
I agree. Man, this is crazy. Can you imagine doing 100 updates in our business and just releasing it, getting ready for the season? This is freaking nuts.
Well, one thing to note is that Airbnb is kind of unique, I think, in the industry when it comes to rolling out updates, because some of the updates have already been rolled out in some markets. Some are being rolled out right now, and some are being rolled out in the future. So, depending on what market you're in, you're probably already have seen some of these updates, or you're
Right.
going to be seeing them in the future. So yeah, everyone's gotta have to just go on Airbnb and check to see which of these changes have been implemented already.
This
But
one's going to look pretty interesting. Number 42 today tab. Right away seeing this, your reservations, man, that's freaking awesome, especially for the traditional host, right? Like the one who is just hosting 1 or 2 units. How easy that's going to be just to find your reservations and reach out to them. Yeah, this looks awesome. I mean, obviously we can get into it quite a bit. What else are you excited about?
all right, so let's scroll down a bit, because I think the what you were looking at just now, that's actually, I would say, the second biggest change that Airbnb has made. So I think Airbnb recognized that the sign up process, right? So creating a new listing or becoming a new host had gotten a bit complicated, and I think they were losing a lot of people through that process, a lot of new hosts. And we have some people in the Profit Academy that are Airbnb ambassadors, and they confirmed this because they actually help people get set up, and they were saying that they were losing a lot of people because it was too complicated. So what Airbnb has now done is they've created a very simple 10-step process to become a new host. And throughout the process, not only do you have all sorts of tips and resources that you can use to create your own listing. For example, Airbnb now auto generates some title suggestions, because that's something that a lot of people would get stuck with. They're like, well, I don't know what title to put. I don't know what description to put. Airbnb is now literally going to suggest wording based on the details that you provide about your home. So if you say that your home has a rooftop and it's a modern apartment, then Airbnb is going to suggest a title, modern apartment with 6 views from the rooftop, for example, right? So they're going to make it a lot more easy for a new host to get started. They've also implemented some education as well. You can now reach out during the listing creation process. You can reach out to a super host who will then help you. You can do online experiences with super hosts, and you can even request one-on-one meetings with Airbnb ambassadors to help you guide you through this process. So that's the second biggest takeaway. It's a lot more easy now to become an Airbnb host.
Interesting. Okay. Well, they're finally stepping into the educational side, right? Like that's been a big complaint from a lot of the users, is that like even us as an educational company, Airbnb was very hesitant to align with any type of education around their platform. So it's awesome to see that they're stepping into that, because it's needed, especially for the beginner hosts, right? So that's incredible. Okay. So more hosts. They need more hosts.
Yeah, and that's what Brian Chesky said a month ago or so. He was saying that he expects that Airbnb needs a couple million more hosts, right? So that's huge. So it makes sense that they've simplified the process.
Yeah.
I know you're all about keeping it simple too, so I'm sure you appreciate
That's
this.
right. That's right. Yeah, look at this one-on-one mentoring. That's freaking amazing. I love that.
Yeah. So
okay.
That's another big update. I think the third takeaway from all of this is they're trying to make it a bit easier for hosts to manage the properties just on the Airbnb app. All right, as you know, a lot of people, especially people with multiple listings, they're using property management softwares
Yeah.
to really be able to manage multiple listings. Airbnb has now implemented personalized guest messaging, so you can now use short codes, right? So I can say guest name and then write a message that I can use as a template. Other short codes are like check-in dates, check-out dates, stuff like that. But also you can now schedule messages to go out automatically on Airbnb, right? That's something that people are using, have been using Smart B&B and different property management softwares to do that. But you can now do that on Airbnb. And I think in a lot of markets, this is actually has been available for a couple of months. So if you're watching this, there's a good chance that you're already familiar with this. But yeah, I think that's the third part of it is they're trying to make it a bit easier for us to manage. Also with the today tab that you just showed, that's another example. They have some new
Which one?
the today tab where you can see what's
Yeah.
happening today on the mobile app.
Yep.
So there's a few other things that are a bit more minor, like like filters for your inbox, and
This is interesting.
search your messages as well. What's my place worth? Yeah, they introduced that a couple months ago. I think they've always had some sort of estimate,
Right.
but in my experience, it was always like very inaccurate though. So I don't know if they managed to make that a bit more accurate, because they always base that on averages, and a lot of hosts are just not really either not very active or they're not doing a great job, and they get very mediocre results. So, but yeah, that's interesting to see as well. I mean, the pricing, simpler pricing. I still don't think that Airbnb is a great advisor when it comes to prices because they are wearing two hats. They have to think about the host interest, but also the guest interest. So they want to keep Airbnb an affordable platform. So that's something to keep in mind when it comes to their pricing tips. But yeah, I think those are the major updates. Really, when it comes to all of this, there's a lot more as you go through this. You'll see.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Incredible. Scheduled messages. Yep. Streamline views. Host details.
Oh yeah, and then the last part is the support. Apparently, they hired a lot more support agents. They are available in 42 languages now.
Oh wow.
And they've upped their game a bit when it comes to the superhost support as well. So
okay,
obviously, a lot of people are going to be skeptical about this because how many times have Airbnb said that they're going to improve this?
yeah.
But I will say in the student on the student call that we did yesterday, I did get some positive reports from people who've contacted Airbnb in the last couple of days, and they mentioned that the experience was pretty good. So,
I mean, this is pretty incredible here, right? 101, expanded global support staffing by 2 times.
Yeah,
that's pretty legit. That's pretty legit.
Significant. That's significant.
Yeah.
For sure.
42 languages, from 11 to 42 languages. That's freaking awesome, man. Connecting more of the world here. Yeah, I mean, we could spend all day going through this. This is really interesting. How do you think this is going to impact? So to wrap all this up, and for everyone who's watching, we posted, if you look in the comments down below, I posted that up. Also on that website, they have the watch the announcement from Brian, so you can go back and see that. And I'm curious, for everyone who's watching this too, drop a comment. How do you guys think this is going to impact your business? And how do you think this is going to impact, man, Aaron is, I don't know if you guys are hearing my notifications here, but Aaron is just hooking it up with calls. Drop a comment. Let us know how you guys think all of these updates are going to impact your business. And then how is it going to impact the industry as a whole? So, Jasper, I'll toss that at you, man. Like, how do you think this is going to impact hosts on this platform?
Yeah, well, first of all, as I said, I think Airbnb is going to attract a lot more guests. So if you're making a strategic decision like what OTAs to be on, I think you probably want to give Airbnb more importance than before, because they're just they're they're adding functionality that none of the other platforms have, right? So that's one thing. I think the second thing is when it comes to pricing, like I said, I think listings will get a bit more price sensitive. So you probably don't have to discount as much for the harder to book dates, and you might not be able to increase the prices as much for the peak dates, right? Because now people have more flexibility when it comes to the searches and the options that Airbnb is going to show them.
Right.
I think obviously unique properties are going to do really well, as we mentioned, because now Airbnb has a separate functionality just for unique experiences. And so that is a big one. I think also remote markets and lesser known locations will do well, because of all the flexibility that Airbnb is adding. You're
Yeah.
going to be able to find listings in places that you normally wouldn't look. If that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's always one of the biggest challenges. Like when you're going to a city, right? Like if we're going to Barcelona because we want to be in the city for whatever reason, that's pretty simple to search that marketplace. But we know that especially this summer, what we're going to see is that people just want to get in their cars, especially in the States. They just want to get in their cars and they want to drive. I just got back from a trip. I went down to Florida and I took 4 flights in the last 7 days, 2 flights down there, 2 flights back. The airports are insanely packed. The Orlando International Airport, you couldn't even walk. It felt, if we weren't wearing a mask, I would have had no idea we're going through a pandemic right now. Right. The airports were insanely packed. Every single flight I was on was 100% full. 100% full. Blew my mind. Prices are more expensive on flights right now too, which is crazy. So we're seeing a lot of people traveling, and I noticed that, but living here in San Diego, we see so many people with out of state, license plates. Everyone is just traveling right now, and they just want to get in their cars and they want to travel. They want to get out. They want to get outside of cities. They want to have cool experiences. It's about the destination, about the property, the experience, not necessarily the location, if that makes sense. So I think they're hitting the nail on the head with this. It's when we do our road trips, it's like, we know a general region we want to go to, but we don't care what town it's in. We want to say it's some really cool places. So hopefully this is going to drive more interest towards those locations and out of just the main city marketplaces, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the example that I used yesterday was like, imagine you're in Los Angeles and you want to go out, you want to go to nature for a couple of days. I think a couple of years ago, people would think of Palm Springs, they would think of Joshua Tree, and then maybe 1 or 2 places. But I think now people have explored a lot more alternative places within driving distance. And with the flexible destinations, you could say, hey, I want to stay at a farm. All right, show me all the farms within 3-hour driving distance of Los Angeles. Right,
I love this company.
What's cool as well is that Airbnb upgraded their map, the map functionality. So what that means is if you're in LA and you want to stay at a farm, then it's going to zoom out as much as needed to give you a reasonable number of options. Right. Now, there's probably quite a few farms around Los Angeles, so it's probably not going to show. It's going to show you places that are fairly nearby, right? But if you want to stay at a castle, then it's going to zoom out much more. If you want your own private island, it's going to zoom out much more because there's not as many of them. So it's always going to show you a reasonable amount of listings, and that's also an indication of like, hey, how many of these types of properties are in your area.
Right. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, it looks so good. Awesome, man. Let's see if we have any questions here. So Sean says COVID showed a lot more people that you can get your job done remotely. That combined with Starlink providing fast Wi-Fi anywhere will make it so remote. Places. Oh, make it so remote places are way more appealing. Flexible dates, locations are perfect, set up to, yeah. So I agree. I mean, I'm excited about this. I'm excited to dive deeper into this. Yeah, Jasper, anything else on this?
No, I think I think those are the major takeaways.
Awesome.
One last thing that I'll say is when it comes to I think when the guest has more flexibility, I think we as hosts can be more flexible too.
Right.
So what I mean by that is, if you're in a market, for example, where the weekends get booked really quickly, but the weekdays don't, then a lot of people use more restrictive settings, right? They'll say like, hey, you can't book Thursday to Saturday because that's going to mess up a weekend stay. Right? So I think people can start adding a bit more flexibility to their settings because the flexibility on the guest side has increased a lot. So
right.
The dates that normally would be hard to book, those gaps that would be created through those bookings that you didn't want, those are going to actually be easier to book, right? So I think we can be more flexible on the hosting side too.
I love it. All right, brother. I appreciate your time, man. I know you had a busy day today. So thanks for jumping on here. For everyone who is watching this, just drop some comments, some questions. Let us know, what are you excited about out of those 100 updates? How do you think this is going to impact you and your business and the industry? If you're watching the replay, #replay, and then drop some comments so we can drop into this. And then keep an eye out because we're going to go live again later in this week. So Jasper, I appreciate you coming on.
All right, man. Have a great day. And thanks for watching, everybody.
All righty.